It's another player comparison episode, and this time it's two elite strikers in their time, and it's no one else than Robin van Persie and Didier Drogba. It's very difficult to actually put both forward side by side because no matter how you want to think it, both strikers commanded fear, at their respective playing times. But of course, Victor and Max and myself will do justice or try to do justice to the question. So, Victor, in your opinion, who was the better player and why?
First off, I'm going to pick up on something you just mentioned, elite strikers. And I think it's a very good
I was
description.
very specific to say in their time.
No, no, no.
In
Absolutely. But also the fact that you chose the word elite instead of world class, I think is
Mhm.
correct. Both
Yeah.
of them were great. Okay. But personally, I don't feel like either of them was world class. However, there was one that was closer to that status than the other. And I think it will become apparent who I think was that. But strictly for this question, the better player, purely from the perspective of striking quality, I have to go with Van Persie here. He was a bit more two-footed than Drogba. He was quicker, and just as importantly, he was quicker in his decision making on the pitch.
Fair enough. And Max, who do you think was more impactful for their club?
I mean, it's definitely Drogba, obviously, because he won 4 EPL trophies with Chelsea, while Van Persie got only one after leaving Arsenal to Man United. Then, obviously, Drogba was so crucial in finals. He scored 10 goals in 10 finals for Chelsea. This is a huge achievement, I'd say. So here I'm definitely going with Drogba.
Basically, the opposite of Haaland in finals.
Exactly, basically the opposite, man. Anyways, I think Victor, you probably slightly answered this question, but who was more of a joy to watch on and off the ball?
Okay, I liked watching both of them tear it up in the Prem, but I always found Van Persie annoying and abrasive. Not that Drogba was some saint, not by a long shot, but there was just something about Van Persie that didn't sit right with me. And sure enough, he proved me right. He went to United. It's a sign of character, right?
Mm,
Um, as a fan, of course, I was already sick of the sight of Drogba scoring against Liverpool, but I still prefer him over Van Persie. I know you're more used to the media trained answers from me, but I just plain didn't like Van Persie.
fair enough. And this one is the opinion based question, I guess. Max, who would you rather have in your team?
I mean, it's a hard question. And I'll answer as I usually do. I mean, if you're a team like Crystal Palace, you're playing counter-attacking football, you're definitely wanting to sign player like Drogba, because you need that pure striker that has one chance and he scores 100%. But if you build a highly attacking team like Man City, obviously you're signing one person that will play on the ball. He's better with his feet. But for me personally, a Drogba's personality will slightly go for my way, so I'll pick Drogba here.
Mm. Victor, your opinion on that?
Yeah, I agree. Drogba, hands down. He was the better leader. He always showed up in big games, just like how Max mentioned. He was leading by example. He was more consistent, more dependable. Uh, i- Van Persie wouldn't make my starting lineup if Drogba was available. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Mm, fair point. And on a final note, and I'll ask one more question. Okay, which player's quality would have been more suited for modern day football? Max.
Yeah, almost answered this question, and I mean, like, Van Persie is much more suited more for modern football because he's playing with his feet pretty good, and he's not like a pure striker like Drogba was that is only going for goal. He's not assisting almost, so I'd say for the current football, I'll go with Van Persie.
Yeah, Victor, your take on that?
Even though I would play Drogba ahead of Van Persie as a manager until he dropped from exhaustion, okay, but it's true. Van Persie is a bit better suited to the game today. Drogba was a bit less mobile, relied more on just sheer power, just bulldozing you to the ground. And Van Persie had a few more ways to hurt the defense, but yeah, I don't know. Character just rubs me the wrong way there. If you have to have Gerard take the piss out of you for leaving your club in order to win a title, that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say something controversial while we're on the topic of Drogba and Robin van Persie, and I say it with all conviction that DJ Drogba was not as good as people say he was. He was not as good as people say he was. He had a lot of crucial moments, and football is all about moments. So it's easier to remember Drogba because he had loads of moments. When you remember in Munich, when you remember against Bayern, when you think about Drogba, you think about tons of moments that he has to his name. Because when you look at his numbers, he scored only 20 goals once, and he scored only 29 goals once. Aside that, he had less than 20 goals in the rest of his Premier League seasons in the Premier League. That does not even scream elite. It screams like what the likes of Isak and other players would just do. So he doesn't strike me as the kind of player that was as good as people say he was. When you look at Thierry Henry, for instance, Henry had the numbers and he had the movements to go with alongside. When you look at other top strikers that we mentioned, they had the movements and they had the numbers. Drogba, in my opinion, did not have the numbers. He is living based off the movement and the fact that he scored. Why do we always mention the fact that he scores in finals, for instance? Why do we always have to bring it up? Because we know that if we don't bring it up, then it's not so special.
Yes, but I agree. For the most part, I agree. But at the same time, let's look at something a little bit out of left field.
Yeah.
And this isn't necessarily something that we should be judging strikers on a regular basis on, but to see in terms of impact, to kind of argue with you that he was maybe almost as good as people make him out to be. In 280 appearances, Van Persie lost 59 games. Drogba played 254, but only lost 30. He lost half as many games as Van Persie did. I know it's odd to look at this for strikers, but I still believe it speaks for impact and it speaks for what he was able to do for the team. Sure, Chelsea had a hell of a defense for so long, but at the same time, it does speak volumes to his leadership and to his off the ball work.
Well, if you watch Drogba on the international stage as well, if you follow Drogba on the international stage, you have you if you follow Drogba on the international stage, you have a clearer picture about what I'm saying. That it was not really as good as people say it
Yeah,
was. But
but
that's
would
I
just
you
my
rather
know,
opinion.
have on
I
your
know,
team like
but you
Haaland that scores 30 and he disappears in finals, or Drogba that scores like 15 to 20 but he's always crucial in finals? You're definitely going with Drogba,
I
right?
mean, I mean, if you need people like Alan to still get you to the final at the end of the day. People like
true.
Alan, the goals will still get you to the final at the end of the day. And I dare say that if Chelsea did not have that kind of defense, Drogba's 10 goals in 2004 would not have led them to the title. If Chelsea did not have that kind of defense, his 10 goals that he scored would not count for much because these days, even Declan Rice is scoring up to 10 goals.
The
So what,
team
so
was
what
just
are we saying?
built differently. The
It's
team was
different
playing
football, yeah.
differently. Chelsea, you can't really compare the way Chelsea were playing in 04, 05 to City today or to Liverpool today or to Arsenal today. And coming back to what you were saying about the national teams, I find it kind of, with all due respect, but I find it hard to compare the Ivorian team to the Dutch one. Pretty much any generation of them.
No, but the point here is that Ivory Coast had lots of superstars on the African continent as well. There was Drogba, there was Kalou, there was Gervinho, lots of stars that he
Absolutely,
played with alongside, and
absolutely,
he still didn't amount to
absolutely.
anything.
But the question here is, do those superstars really make up a better team than the Dutch one?
Yeah,
No,
just
obviously
mention
not.
Snyder and it's already done.
Obviously not, but I still stand on the fact that when we talk about guys like Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer and guys that had the sheer numbers, I think we only try to put Drogba in that bracket because of the goals he scored in finals. It makes no sense.
Yeah, no, that's
Why
true.
should we change the metrics all the time?
That
Why should
that's
we
true.
change the
That's true.
metrics all the
And
time?
this is actually kind of very well tied in with the fact that elite striker. He wasn't world class. He
No,
wasn't
but
like Shearer or Henry or Salah.
no, I
It's
agree with him.
it's not the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I still put him kind of close to how people viewed him because of the overall success that he brought to
Yeah,
Chelsea.
fair enough. And I'll end this video by saying to all the Chelsea fans today that keep on saying DJ Drogba is the best African player to ever play in the Premier League, the answer is no, because Mohamed Salah is almost two times the player he was. And I mean no disrespect. Drogba was, like I said, elite. He had his moment. Nobody even had moments than he did. But Salah, it would take something crazy for another African player to do what he has done in the Premier League. I don't see any African coming close in the next 20 years, honestly. I really
Salah's
don't see
better than Henry. Obviously, he's better
it.
than Drogba.
I really don't see it. Even for Henry, it's debatable. Like it's a close scale, but for Drogba, there's no debate. Salah clears Drogba any day. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll leave it to our viewers to continue the discussion. Didier Drogba and Robin Van Persie, who was the better forward? And a further discussion, was Drogba as good as people claim he was, or was he slightly overrated because of his efficiency in finals? Tell us what you think. Join us in the comment section below, and we'll be waiting to hear from you.